ELI 5, how did imaginary numbers come into existence? What was the first problem that required use of imaginary number? Solving cubics. The guy credited with initially developing imaginary numbers was Girolamo Cardano, a 16th-century Italian mathematician and doctor, chemist, astronomer, scientist. He was one of the big developers of algebra and a pioneer of negative numbers. He also did a lot of work on cubic and quartic equations. Working with negative numbers, and with cubics, he found he needed a way to deal with negative square roots, so acknowledged the existence of imaginary numbers but didn't really do anything with them or fully understand them, largely dismissing them as useless. About 30 years after Cardano's Ars Magna, another Italian mathematician Raphael Bombelli published a book just called L'Algebra. This was the first book to use some kind of index notation for powers, and also developed some key rules for what we now call complex numbers. He talked about plus of minus, what we would call I, and minus of minus, what we would call I, and set out the rules for addition and multiplication of them in the same way he did for negative numbers. René Descartes coined the term imaginary to refer to these numbers, and other people like Abraham de Moivre and Euler did a bunch of work with them as well. It is worth emphasizing that complex numbers aren't some radical modern thing. They were developed alongside negative numbers, and were already being used before much of modern algebra was developed, including x2 notation.